Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're diving into a story that has taken fans completely by surprise. Park Bo-gum has finally broken his silence, and the real reason behind his reunion with Kim Yoo-jung has left fans absolutely speechless. What truly happened behind the scenes? Why is this reunion stirring so much emotion and speculation around the world? Stay with us as we uncover the truth right now. You won't want to miss this. For years, fans had asked the same question, whispered it in comment sections, debated it in late-night forums, and carried it quietly in their hearts. Park Bo-gum ever speak about Kim Yoo-jung again? And if he did, what would he say? The silence was not accidental. It was deliberate, heavy, painfully long. Ever since their unforgettable on-screen chemistry captivated millions, the two names had been inseparable in the public imagination. Every appearance, every interview, every subtle glance was dissected. Yet, as time passed, Park Bo-gum chose distance. He smiled politely when asked. He redirected conversations. Eventually, the questions stopped, but the curiosity never did. Now, when news broke that Park Bo-gum would be appearing at a closed media event, few expected anything extraordinary. It was meant to be quiet, controlled, almost routine. But something in his demeanor was different. Those who were there noticed it immediately. His pauses lingered longer. His eyes carried a weight that suggested unresolved memories. Then came the question no one thought he would answer. Why Kim Yoo-jung? Why now? The room fell silent. No one moved. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. Park Bo-gum didn't answer right away. Instead, he exhaled slowly, as if preparing himself to open a door he had kept locked for years. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't polished. It wasn't rehearsed. It was raw. He said that some reunions are not about nostalgia or fan expectations. Some are about unfinished conversations, ones that were never spoken aloud, only felt. He admitted that walking away back then wasn't easy. But staying silent felt necessary. Fame had grown louder than sincerity. And stepping back was the only way to protect something fragile. That fragile thing, he revealed, was trust. He described a time when everything moved too fast. Scripts, schedules, headlines, assumptions. In the middle of it all were two young actors trying to understand not just their roles, but themselves. He said they promised each other one thing: if they were ever to stand side by side again, it would be on their own terms. No pressure. No illusions. Fans listening to his words felt something shift. This wasn't a reunion born from marketing. This wasn't coincidence. This was intention. Park Bo-gum admitted that for a long time. Believed silence was safer than explanation. But silence also allowed others to write the story for him. Others filled the gap. Speculation turned into assumed truth. And eventually, even he began to feel trapped by a narrative he never agreed to. The reunion, he said, wasn't planned as a grand statement. It started with a simple message. A check-in. Question that carried years of distance but no resentment. When Kim Yoo-jung replied, the past didn't rush back all at once. It unfolded slowly, carefully. Like something that still mattered enough to handle gently. What shocked fans most was not that they reunited, but why. He said he realized something crucial: growth doesn't erase connection. It clarifies it. And that realization changed everything. His words spread. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Fans around the world struggled to process what they had just heard. This wasn't the dramatic confession many expected. It was quieter, deeper, and somehow, far more powerful. Bo-gum went on to explain that reuniting with Kim Yoo-jung forced him to confront parts of himself he had ignored for years. The version of him that once felt unsure. The version that hid behind professionalism to avoid vulnerability. Seeing her again didn't pull him backward, it reminded him how far he had come. He spoke about respect. About timing. How real connection survives not because it's loud, but because it's honest. What stunned listeners was his admission that there was a moment when he almost said no. He feared reopening a chapter that the world had romanticized beyond recognition. He worried that anything less than perfection would disappoint. Who had held on to an idealized memory for too long. Then he asked himself a different question: was he living for expectation, or for truth? Choosing truth meant accepting uncertainty. Letting the reunion be human, not mythical. It meant allowing space for growth, boundaries, and realism. He described their reunion as calm, ordinary, and that was exactly what made it meaningful. No dramatic declarations. No cinematic moments. Just two people acknowledging what once was, without being trapped by it. Fans were left speechless not because of romance, but because of maturity. In an industry built on spectacle, Park Bo-gum chose reflection. Culture that rewards oversharing. He chose intention. And in a moment when he could have fueled fantasy, he chose clarity. Shock wasn't that he spoke, it was how he spoke. By the end of the event, there was no dramatic conclusion. No promise of more attempt to define what the reunion meant for the future. Instead, he left the audience with something far more unsettling and profound. The idea that not every meaningful story needs a label. Sometimes, the most powerful truth is simply being brave enough to say why you stayed silent, and why you finally decided not to. And in that moment, fans realized they weren't witnessing a comeback or a headline-grabbing reunion. They were witnessing closure, growth. Something far rarer in the spotlight. Honesty. What followed in the days after Park Bo-gum's words was something no press release, no promotional campaign, and no carefully planned appearance could have predicted. The atmosphere around his name changed. Not louder, heavier. As if the industry itself paused to reassess what had just been said. Fans replayed his statements again and again. Not searching for hidden romance, but for meaning. Every sentence felt deliberate. Every pause felt loaded. Social media timelines filled with the same realization. This was not a story about rekindling the past, but about reclaiming it. Insiders quietly revealed that Park Bo-gum had turned down multiple opportunities over the years that would have capitalized on nostalgia. Scripts designed to recreate old chemistry. Interviews meant to bait emotional reactions. Had declined them all. Not because he was afraid, but because he refused to cheapen something that had once been genuine. That revelation hit hard. In an industry where timing is everything and silence is often mistaken for weakness, Park Bo-gum had chosen restraint. Allowed distance to do its work. He let rumors fade on their own. And in doing so, he protected not only Kim Yoo-jung, but himself. What shocked many was how clearly he distinguished memory from illusion. He acknowledged that the public had fallen in love with an image. One that even he once cherished, but he refused to live inside it forever. Reuniting, he said. It made sense if both people were no longer trying to be who they once were. Behind closed doors, those who witnessed the reunion described it as unexpectedly grounded. There were no rehearsed smiles. No dramatic gestures. Instead, there was caution. Laughter that arrived slowly. Conversations that didn't rush to conclusions. Two individuals meeting not as symbols, but as people who had survived growing up under a microscope. Park Bo-gum admitted that what frightened him most was not public reaction, but personal honesty. Facing someone who knew you before fame reshapes you is uncomfortable. It strips away performance. It forces you to confront who you were, and who you are now. That confrontation, he said, was the real reason for the reunion. It wasn't about reliving success. It wasn't about unfinished feelings in the way fans imagined. It was about resolution. About acknowledging a shared chapter without being owned by it. About standing still long enough to understand what mattered, and what no longer did. The shockwaves continued as fans realized something unsettling. This reunion wasn't meant to satisfy them. It wasn't curated for applause. It was private in intention, even when public in consequence. And that was exactly why it resonated. Park Bo-gum didn't offer answers wrapped in fantasy. He offered something rarer, context. He reframed a narrative that had been frozen in time and allowed it to breathe again. Not as a fairy tale, but as a human experience shaped by timing, oath, and choice. By the end of it all, one truth stood out with undeniable clarity. He didn't break his silence to reveal a secret. He broke it to reclaim his story. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching that sometimes the most shocking reunion isn't about who you meet again, about who you finally allow yourself to become. As the echoes of Park Bo-gum's words continue to ripple outward, one thing becomes unmistakably clear: this was never just about a reunion. About courage, the courage to speak after years of silence, to confront the past without being trapped by it, and to choose honesty over expectation. Left fans truly speechless was not a romantic revelation or a dramatic promise, but the rare maturity behind his decision. In an industry driven by noise, Park Bo-gum chose meaning. In a world that demands spectacle, he offered truth. And in doing so, he reshaped a story that many thought they already understood. Thank you for staying with us until the very end and for taking this journey beyond headlines and assumptions. Behind the Bulletin. We are committed to uncovering the stories behind the stories. Moments of humanity that often go unseen. We sincerely appreciate your time and support. Until next time, thank you for watching, reading, and reflecting with us.